someone will have to move the mouse. The mouse is in the center of the screen. The cursor. No, it's not moved yet. So Maini is going to Orouge now? Is that what it is?
Yep. Dylan, there's a timer on the top on the left.
Yeah.
Remove it.
.2.
Okay, are we live on the commentary? Take the thing off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're following Arjun Maini here. He's on a flying lap in practice, we think, and the guys have just logged on to the server. We've got Krishanu, who's setting the pace at the moment, followed by Amit Kuti and Rohan Shankar. But I think once the laps start coming in, we're definitely going to see some close times here, because from what we hear, all of them are, again, within a second or two. Is that right, Arman?
So I think Arman is having a bit of connection problems, but I mean, so far I know that Spa is a really difficult track, and anything can go wrong. There is a lot of space if you make errors, but it can still go really wrong if you're not careful. So
yeah, it's a fast circuit, and you're looking at Arjun right now, and there's a couple of places already where he's kind of gone outside of track limits. So let's see, because the track limits right now in the game are set to strict, and he's got to be a bit careful. So not sure if he's going to log a lap time in this time. So he's going to just cross the line. Does Arjun get a lap time in? And
yes,
he does.
Yes. Only two.
And I think he goes straight to the top. All right.
But
not bad. I think he got away with it. But
he's been practicing today, hasn't he?
He's been practicing a bit,
but I noticed that
he's also been practicing.
I noticed that in the some of these circuits, if you actually look, that there are some curves that you can go out completely on and you won't get an invalidated lap time. We've seen this with other games and other tracks on this game as well, where there are certain curbs that are really big, like in Monza, coming to turn 6 and 7. Going out on the curb doesn't make it an invalidated lap time, so you can still push on those corners.
The basic rule is that you need to have at least one wheel on the track, which means inside the white line. So as long as that happens, the lap time is valid. So it's again just making sure you find that limit where some piece of your car is on the black line.
Exactly. Spa, you also have to remember, Spa and a lot of circuits actually have corners that are
I'm losing you guys a bit, but so as we've seen right here, Sohail Shah's just gone all four wheels off the track, but that actually
some connectivity issues.
Yeah, there are some connectivity issues, but besides that, I'll fill in some of the words that we did see Sohail Shah just going all four wheels off the track, but that might be one of those corners where it'll still be validated even though he's gone all four wheels off the track, and that's something that we find with a lot with all these games really, is that there's just some parts of the track where you can just go all four wheels off the track even though it's not allowed, like right now where you can see he's all the way on the curb and it's all four wheels are off the white line, and it might still be validated.
Yeah, we'll just have to look at what happens when he crosses the line, and it's only practice, just before qualifying, so this is the time when they're really going to push the limits and try and find that actual limit so they get it absolutely right in qualifying. But I mean, as he comes across towards the last chicane, we'll be able to look at what he actually comes up with on the lap.
Exactly. And will we see him have an invalidated lap time? We did see him go quite a bit off the circuit, and yes, he does get a validated lap time, moving him all the way up into third in free practice, which is which is a pretty good time. And you can definitely see that he is trying to push his car as much as possible and see how far the car will go.
Yeah. And Dylan, while we're on the stream, I think we should just let everybody know, whoever's watching, that we're not, Arman and I aren't really tech geniuses, so the commentary's been being done in the most basic of manners, where Arman and I are on a video call with Dylan, and we're actually watching the stream through Dylan's phone screen. So it's quite interesting, and Dylan is streaming it now onto YouTube. So it's quite an interesting way to do it. So Dylan, while I'm saying that, would you be able to point your phone a bit higher, because I can't see the top two on the leaderboard?
Are you sure?
I think that's Karthik who's just gone off
That's
on his
Karthik
first flying lap, pushing a bit too hard in the beginning. But yeah, I mean, it's just Dylan teaching us old guys how to get a little more tech savvy, I guess.
So yeah, Dylan, like I said, if you could either take your phone back, that's good, that's perfect. It's perfect.
Alright, so now that we've sorted out the video call problems, let's just say, we do see Karthik that just went off the track, and we see Sohil Shah. We do see also Amit that is up into second place now in free practice.
I mean, what went unnoticed was actually Arjun gone on to do 2:19.1. You know, that's a storming lap, because when we were listening to the drivers early in the day when they were testing, and actually spending some time on the at Spa, and I think the quickest was in the 20s, but straight away in the low 19s, and with Amit right behind him, about half second behind him. I mean, I think 18s are on the cards for qualifying. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, I think so too, because it's funny, Arjun kept his mouth shut when everybody was talking about their lap times, because I think he knew he shouldn't really open his mouth, because that's when these guys are going to push a bit harder. They're super competitive. Even someone like Arjun Maini getting so competitive here, it's great to see. And that being, while we were speaking, I think Amit Kuti, did he just set a quick lap time, and I think he's half
he's up in second. He's half a second.
So he was second. He was up in, I think, about 8 tenths off. Now he's half. So he's getting closer. We've got 3 cars in the 19s, or 4 cars, I think, in the 2-minute 19s, which is great to see. Everybody was talking about the 20s, but now they're in the 19s. So now we're following Chewang Lama. Chewang is from the northeast, and he's pretty quick. He plays a lot. Actually, he's got a gaming arcade as well.
I was just gonna say, let's talk about that a bit, because you know that, and there's not many people know that. They've got a gaming arcade there in Sikkim, I think, and it's really good, because that shows the esports community is really building up, and it really shows how competitive all these guys are.
Yeah, and you've got even, and it's not just Chewang who's from there, it's Avinash Gupta and Likhit Pradhan, all 3 of them from the same gaming community from Sikkim. All 3 of them also very competitive drivers. You can see they're very open with asking questions. I think today they were talking about ideal setup for the car on their chat group, which means it's great to see all the drivers also helping each other kind of move forward.
Yeah, we do see that a lot, where especially when I was in the X1 esports, I did see a lot of the drivers helping each other out. But I mean, at the same time, we all have like that little bit of competitiveness in us, like Arjun Maini, who won't say what his lap time is, and there's nothing wrong with it, and that's just giving him a little bit of the edge. And I've done that myself, especially going to X1 esports. There's some information that one of my friends didn't know coming into Chennai, and I refused to tell him, just to have that little bit of an edge over him. And we do see some of that competitiveness here as well, and it's good to see that especially from Arjun Maini. He's an extremely fast driver, and he's completely blown my expectations off, because I was expecting the gamers to be all the way on top, but we do see a very diverse racing grid right now, where we have gamers on top as well as racers, and then we have some racers and gamers in the bottom as well. So it's a very evened out grid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you can see, we've got, coming down the lower half of the top 10, we've got Saurav, who's a racing driver, followed by Rohan Shankar.
Has actually just gone into the wall over there.
As
I think
now.
he was just parking it to go back to the garage.
Yeah.
But then going back to.
But yeah, then you've got Advait, the other, again another racing driver who's now spending a lot of time on the sims. And then I remember seeing Sandeep actually somewhere there, but it seems to have disappeared again from the racing community. But it's a great mix, you know, and how they've mixed it up between the esports drivers and the actual racing drivers. What I'd say is, I think the first race everyone's been a little over ambitious, but the second race they seem to calm down. Something like real world as well.
That has been the trend with so far in round 1 and round 2. Maybe we can see some more clean racing in race 1, but you know, everyone's they know that they've got another opportunity in another race, so everyone is going to be just a little bit over ambitious, and you know, testing out the car, especially first turn. You know, okay, where am I going to position my car? And some things to think ahead going in.
But let's ride on board now. I think this is Karthik. It's a really good view of Francorchamps. You know, there's so much speed that can be carried on, and it's such a flowing circuit. The beauty of this is, you know, I mean, just talking about the real world, actually, there are times when the first half of the circuit will be wet and the second half will be dry. You know, obviously, for this weekend we've just kept it on dry settings, but you know, it's still a phenomenally beautiful circuit.
You go on.
No, it's an absolute driver circuit, you know, and no matter what car you drive on, it still brings a smile on your face. But yeah, let's just go back to the times and look at what everyone has settled in. We've still got two drivers who've not set a time. I think Karthik would set it on this lap if he manages to hold it.
A little bit wide, but still seems to have kept his cool and gotten a good exit off, actually. In my opinion, he's had a pretty good exit. Has he set a time? Yes, he has, and that puts him up into 12th. That means Hari's the only... has Hari actually set a time? He seems to be in the pits right now. But we only have 1.5 minutes left of free practice until we actually have qualifying, which they have to perform in qualifying and make sure that they get a good time in. So now we're spectating Arjun Maini going down into Erouge, and we see him getting really going just a little bit wide, but or a little bit too much on the curb, but it's all right. I think that was okay.
I think Eau Rouge is one of those corners and up into Radion on this circuit that's almost a make or break for many drivers, because you've got to remember you're going uphill all the way from La Sauce all the way to Lacombe, and it's a long run, and even if you lift a little bit extra through Eau Rouge and Radion, then you lose so much time down the straight. So we see drivers losing up to a second or even more just because they lifted just a little bit. So it's important that they they keep their cool through Eau Rouge and just make sure they get through there to make sure they don't lose too much time.
Exactly, and you know, especially that I drive a lot on the sim, I can, you know, we have tracks like Monaco and stuff, and Eau Rouge is just one of those turns that on any car and any condition is just one of the hardest turns to perfect and get it right all the time. And I don't think you can actually get it right all the time because just the smallest thing can ruin your race and cause you to crash or potentially ruin someone else's race. So perfecting and making sure that you're not making a bold move on Eau Rouge is also important. You know, you just have to be really confident going up into Eau Rouge.
Yeah, I think Armand can talk us through an incident of his through Eau Rouge. He's got some good memories from that corner when he raced Formula 2.
And actually, speaking of
sorry.
You go on.
I've got some really good memories and some really painful memories as well, like Althea put it. But that's what happens, you know, when you're on the limits and you're racing in 3 dimensions. Really, that accidents can hurt. But no, that takes me back to my previous point. You know, Eau Rouge was drying, you know, from a shower early in the day, and we were on slicks, so it could be quite lethal. But you know, as the years have gone on and the safety standards have increased so much in modern day racing, that you know they've increased the runoff, you know, but it's still a corner that is very challenging.
And as we've seen technology and safety grow over the years, especially from when you were racing in Formula 2, we do still see accidents and fatal accidents that do happen in Erouge. Taking, for example, again, Formula 2 last year, where we had a horrible accident where we lost Antoine Hubert on Erouge. So it is definitely still a very challenging corner, and hopefully in the future, in a couple years, we can see safety go up to a point where we don't have we can protect those fatal accidents.
Yeah, I mean, it is just one of those corners, and at the end of the day, motorsport is a dangerous sport, and it's always going to be dangerous no matter what you do. It's always a dangerous sport. But anyway, back to the game. Practice is just done. We have Arjun, who managed to go even faster than earlier in the session. I think he went a 10th quicker, so he went 6/10 up on Amit Kuti and Krishanu. So that's Arjun just kind of showing everybody what he can do. And let's see what it's like in qualifying. We've got a 10-minute qualifying session. Spa is a long circuit, which means drivers aren't going to get too many laps. As you can see, they've got to drive through the extended pit lane, so they are losing time. So it's important that they make the best out of this short 10-minute session. I would think they would get maybe 3 laps in if they're lucky. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's about, they're going to get 3 laps in. Another thing is they've got 6 kilometers to get the tires and brakes up to temperature, So, the first lap to me, first and second lap should be their prime lap, because they've just finished, they're fresh from practice and they're ready to go. New set of slicks on, and I think the first and second flying lap would be their best, if they don't make a mistake, that is. But another point to bring up is I think the drivers have to be really careful at the start of the race, because yesterday, in Monza, we saw tons of drive-through penalties for over-aggressive driving and faults at the restarts at the start. So, but you notice how long the pit lane is in Spa, and you do not want to. I think the race is over once you get it right. So that's something they really have to be careful about.
And speaking of which, 3 laps is very possible, but if we didn't have the extended pit lane, I think they could have actually run 4 laps with 10 minutes, obviously going over the time limit. But again, that's going to be really affecting. It's going to be really hard. They obviously have to have a good first lap, because that's when they'll have the best tire grip, and that's where they have to. So hopefully they don't make any mistakes, and they save their tire wear if they're not able to keep up with the pace. But obviously, it's the first lap. It's very hard to tell when you're on the pace or not until someone has set a lap time.
So now we're following Rohan Shankar there, going through the back section towards Blanchimont. It's interesting. This morning, I was having a chat with Rohan. He was trying to help me figure out the commentary as well, because the last couple of days we were also trying. Arman and I were trying to jump in, and Rohan said, "You know what? I've got a system. Why don't you just ask my dad Prabha to commentate? All you have to do is bribe him with some Dai Papri chart, and he'll be more than happy to do it." But I think Prabha, or as I would like to call him, I did a program with him. We used to call him Master G. I think his tastes are quite specific. So trying to get Dai Papri chart during the lockdown isn't going to be that easy.
When we managed to put together an esports league, so I think impossible is possible. But if Prabha, if you're listening, next one, I think you should come on board for the
All right, so the drivers on their first lap, we've already seen Krishanu go wide on the exit of Radion. That means his lap is 1 lap already gone. He's lost his chance there. The rest of them seem to have got through pretty clean. We've got Rohan now going into Lacombe.
We've got his beautiful helicopter view. Yep. I think we've got a beautiful helicopter view just following Rohan.
You know,
And now he's going into Brazil. Yes, we got it.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna mention, I'm a huge F1 fan, as many people are, but I don't know, just something about GT3 cars just hit different, and you have so much more close encounters, and it's just a car that can be really easy to handle and also really tough to handle at the same time if it goes wrong.
The thing with GT3 cars is, we know, Arman and I know what you're saying because we drive them in real life. For one, you can recognize them, you know what they are, but you've got to remember these cars aren't light, they're pretty heavy. So if there is contact can be pretty harsh. But you can still get away with a little bit of bumping and banging, some side-by-side, door-to-door business, because in Formula One that's tough. You've got open wheels. If you put your wheels between somebody else's wheels, you're going to send a car flying. So that way, GT3 racing does allow for some good close racing, and also while the cars are highly aerodynamic, it's still not to the extent of Formula One. So it does make for good close racing that way.
Yeah, and that too, Formula One I wouldn't say it's a very fragile car, but just the slightest of touch can ruin your car and your race, and especially when you're getting into contact with someone else. But before I continue that, we are coming down into the first lap that is finished. We see Rohan Shankar and Dutta actually setting a 2:19.9, and Advait Dioda just 2/10 away from that time.
I think earlier in the lap we saw Gupta coming out of the pit, but we saw Rohan now in the last corner actually before that.
Just to cut you off there, Kuti's just gone quickest. Which was expected actually.
19.4, yeah, that was expected. But let's see what Arjun's got. I'm sure Arjun's got something in the bag. He's going to surprise us in many ways. He's just coming.
He just never ceased to surprise us. I mean, he is extremely fast on track, and I was expecting obviously some really good fights from him, but he's just been on top on every single circuit that we've been to so far, and it's quite surprising and quite remarkable.
It's remarkable for sure.
Well, just to interrupt there again, Hari, who didn't take part in practice, has straight away gone to P3, 6/10 off, but not a bad effort to just get his first flying lap going.
We're just seeing Arjun going a bit wide there, but we did see a lot of cars take advantage of that particular corner by going wide and not really get their lap time invalidated. So let's see really what the game does. Again, for those of you who are new to watching games online, motorsport games online, it's the rules. A lot of the rules are actually in the game. So, for example, your track limits, the game decides whether or not to cut your lap, which is great. We don't have to be sitting here and pressing buttons to decide that. The game can decide when to give you a drive-through, and we can decide to overrule it. It's great stuff. But now we're watching Maini cross the line, and he goes straight to the top.
He is very confident, and in fact, this is his first lap, and he actually waited it out, and you can see that he's very confident that he's going to be on top, especially in free practice. We saw him on top again.
Yeah, he's matched his practice time of 19.0. Exactly. Let's see if he can break into the 18th. I think the next lap can, ideally, because let's see what Sohail Shah can do as well as he crosses the.
Sohail Shah did not set a validated time, so that means that he has to go again and make sure that he sets a good time.
Which means he was pushing his luck a bit too much post-practice. Because in practice we saw that he was on the edge.
Yeah, we saw that he was going all four wheels off, and you could see that he was testing his car, making sure that he could go off, but he might have gone into a corner. As I said, there's some corners that you can go all four wheels off and it won't count as an invalidated lap, and he might have just gone into one of those corners that did.
We've got Karthik while you guys were speaking. I just noticed Karthik in the pit, so he's kind of probably given up on this session. But he's done a rather quick lap time compared to what he was doing before. He's in the mid-20s. I think in practice he was struggling a bit, but he must be happy with that because he's parked himself inside now.
I don't see him getting out in time to start another lap. So that's Karthik for the day. I think. Let's hope that. He probably hopes laps and no one else goes quicker. But yeah, if you notice, Rohan and Abhishek Gupta and Sohail, three of them have not set a time yet. So we'll have to see what happens. I noticed Sandeep also is about 5 seconds off, so he's not set a valid lap time as well.
So yeah, this is a now or never lap for especially Sohail Shah. I think he was just starting his lap at like 140, so this would probably be his last lap for him. I'm not exactly sure for Rohan Shankar where he is on the track. Maybe he has one more lap to go, one more chance. But we're coming into the final minute, and we can speaking about Karthik Tarani, he's actually out of the pits again. But Karthik Tarani, he hasn't exactly been on top, but he is extremely consistent. He has had a bit of bad luck in the previous races, but he is extremely consistent with his racing and his times. So we could see some of that consistency again coming into the race.
Yeah, no doubt. He's definitely a racer, and we just have to, he just has to bide his time and not be impatient during the race and get involved in incidents.
And actually, we were, as we were saying about Arjun Maini going to 218, he's actually gone not only into 218, he's gone 5 tenths up on that.
Oh, it's a second up on Kuti as well. It's a ridiculously fast time. I don't know how we missed that.
And Sohail Shah has actually gone. Sohail Shah's actually gone 5.
Sohail's got a P2, so he's done an 18.9.
The race drivers are starting to bring out and show their mettle.
I think they might be having
Karthik's actually going to try his luck again, I think, but I don't think Karthik's going to make it to the line.
Is he going to make it?
Get a lap.
I'm not sure if he will get a lap time in, but either way, he is in P8, which is a really, really good position to start in. It's very risky, but could be really, really good. And
We're on board with Arjun Maini right now, so let's run through the next few corners with him, going through...
he's gone really wide.
He went really, really wide there. We were hoping for some good action, but...
That's the commentator's curse there.
But speaking about, starting in the middle of the track, we saw Abhishek in round 1 in Zandvoort. He didn't start on top. He was in 6th, if I'm not wrong, or 5th. Yeah. And we saw him just avoid all the contact and get all the way from 5th all the way up to 1st. Maybe we could expect that racing, especially coming up Erouge. We could expect some crashes.
We just missed, we were watching Rohan just talking about Rohan not setting a time, but he just suddenly put in a blinder at the end. I think he did 2 minute 20.5. He was telling me this morning that he can't go quicker than 21s, and he says he's just not going to be able to do it, but he's done it 20.5, which is a great improvement. But everybody's gone quicker now in this qualifying. So let's watch the rolling start now. I think it's going to start.
Just as we go back to the grid,
But let's discuss that qualifying. So what do you guys think? I think obviously Arjun and Sohail kind of stamped their authority.
I think the top
still got Kuti and Dwaraknath close.
I think the top 4 is no real surprise to us because they've been very consistent over the last 3 days on all 3 different circuits that we've been on to. But it's just a sheer dominance, and the difference in the lap time between Arjun and Sohail is quite surprising. I expected them to be a little more closer. But no doubt, I think they're all going to be getting into Arjun's toe, going into coming out of the first corner and just going through Erouge in a long straight. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting first lap with a lot of overtaking, I think.
And to add to that, we saw 3 different purple sectors from 3 different drivers, and we saw Sohail Shah in the middle, and you can see that he's actually very consistent with his time. He didn't set any purple sectors, but he was still so consistent with his time all throughout all 3 sectors that put him in first place or second place. So that is also very essential. Even though you're setting a good sector and a fast sector, you still need to be fast throughout the other sectors, otherwise you're not going to be on top.
Yeah, they always tell you.
Guys, there's something interesting I've noticed. I'm not sure if you noticed it yet. Do you notice where the cars are standing to begin moving for the rolling start? They're actually on the actual grid, so I'm not sure where do you think the green light is actually going to...
Could we expect it on the other grid?
Because so this is not like Formula 1, because again they usually expect a lot of incidents to happen at the first corner because it happens. So to avoid that, they start endurance race. A rolling start race always happens just on the straight leading up to Rouge.
I see. You see what Arjun's doing here. Arjun's controlling the pace, and Sohail's a bit impatient. He's gone ahead of him, but Sohail needs to get behind. Otherwise, Sohail's going to be penalized for this.
He's going to get a drive through.
But it's really smart what Arjun just did. And it's green flag, and the race is on. Oh, Sohail's still ahead of him.
That's going to be called a jump start.
I don't know. We'll have to see because I think the game knows who's crossed the line first. It shows Maini on top, which means Maini crossed the line first, and then Sohail got the jump on him after that. So I think we're gonna have to.
We'll have to wait and watch. All right. So Sohail's built up quite a big gap coming down the straight here. Arjun's nowhere close to the slipstream, but the battle's just from behind, and someone's
we see
coming
a lot
right
of crashes going on. A lot of bumping, but no one is. Four drivers.
That's a huge
is.
pile up. I think
they've all piled up again.
That's gonna be a restart. That's definitely gonna be a restart.
That was a huge pileup, and that has ruined a lot of drivers' race. And we did expect this in race 1. Hopefully, it doesn't happen in race 2 again. But maybe we can see these drivers come back up. We still have Sohail Shah in the lead and Arjun Maini in second. So
yeah, I think that pileup was a huge pileup. It kind of sent half the grid quite far behind. But let's see what happens. Yep, that's a restart. Yep.
So
I think
they have another chance.
The drivers keep it clean. Yeah, they have another chance. So I think it's important the drivers keep it clean.
No, so, we just want to explain the reason why the restart. So again, because the possibility of doing it, there are two scenarios where restart would happen. One is basically there's a glitch in the game, and secondly, they've been warned that if at least half the grid is taken out in one corner, then it makes sense on the first lap, and then it makes sense to restart just so that everyone can clear them, so it doesn't have a clean race. It's about creating fair opportunities.
And I do want to touch on this. I've not actually seen this with a lot of other games, but having the control over penalties is a huge thing, because sometimes the game can only do so much in terms of putting a penalty on someone, and that's great about having a third person, is that, or a human person rather, is they can see leading up to the crash what happened and how did the crash happen, and you can penalize someone based on that, or revoke the penalty that the game has given itself. And I find that extremely fascinating that you have the chance to do that with this game.
Alright, so back to the start. The cars are rolling now. So you guys kind of cleared my doubt the last time. With regard to why the cars are starting on the other side and not where the Formula 1 cars start. Yeah. But let's see now actually if Arjun can manage what he did last time. But Sohail got the jump on him, and we don't know yet. We won't know whether Sohail.
In my opinion, I think Sohail just lucked out there with the restart. Because he was definitely ahead before the lights went off. As you can see him now keeping that gap.
But unfortunately, we were on an onboard view, so we couldn't tell if Sohail was ahead before or not. But if he actually wasn't ahead before, and that would have been a lightning start for Sohail, but that lightning start is gone. As we go into green lights now, we still see
green. Yeah, now it's Arjun who's in front, Sohail in second. 3 cars going side by side.
And someone has gone off. Someone has gone off.
And I think that's one car that's been bumped off, but have the rest gone through clean? It looks like the rest of the guys have gone through.
Advait has got a drive-through penalty.
Advait who's got a drive-through straight away. It's probably for a jump start.
It's probably a jump start.
In the slipstream, Arjun slipstream coming around the outside.
Can he hold it?
He's going to try and hold him around the outside, that's close. I think, that was some good racing there.
That's a good one. He's definitely got him there, and then you've got, I think, Abhishek Dwarkanath third place, or is that Hari?
If you actually follow Sohail Shah on Instagram, you can actually see that he does a lot of overtakes like that, where he goes around the outside and goes around the inside. So this is his territory when it comes to overtaking, and we've seen him display that just now in the game as well. And it was an extremely good move, especially coming from the outside.
what we can also see is him building, just trying to eke away and build a small gap, so that when they come down to the back section where you can just sit under your draft and then make a move at the chicane, which is the last corner. He's just trying to break away.
Yeah, and I think that's Hari who's up into third place now, following Arjun. And we've seen yesterday how Arjun was really patient, pacing himself behind the leader, behind Amit, who was leading the race yesterday. So, and I think he's going to do the same today. But no, that's Abhishek Dwarkanath who's up in third, and he's hounding Arjun from behind. But Arjun's a smart driver. I'm sure Arjun knows how to handle the pressure from behind. So he's got a bit of a gap now. So let's see if he can hold on to it, or let's see if Arjun can catch him in the laps to come.
So now that we have Sohail Shah has actually gotten a good lead, that means that Arjun will not be able to make the move on this turn. Oh, someone's going extremely deep and gone extremely wide. Was that actually Amit?
I think it was Amit.
And he's actually brought someone off the track. He's hit someone.
I think that was Rohan. No,
it was Rohan. I think he's taken Rohan with the
just at the slowest part of the circuit, the chicane, I think he just overcooked his braking and got too eager.
No, I think, and it was Rohan who was spun around. That's unfortunate because Amit should have been a bit more patient coming on track, but he's driven straight on track.
All that hard work in Monza is just gone down the drain after this, because again, it's just fallen back and has to fight his way all the way back up now. It'll be interesting if we get an onboard view of Abhishek Dwarkanath. We can just see how he just gets drafted right behind Arjun and see if he can make a move at the end of the straight.
Abhishek is a really, in my opinion, he's a really, really fast driver, and we have seen that in Chennai and in the esports finals as well. And we also did end up getting caught up because we both were fighting for that first place. But yeah, he
taps Maini. He taps Arjun. Arjun gets a little sideways but holds it.
Oh, that was a little bit of a dodgy move, but everyone has come out okay. But we do have Hari that's now gained and used that advantage of that little tap to gain up a little bit.
I think Hari's just going to be smart and play it out, just wait for these two to start squabbling, or maybe even the three to start squabbling, and then try and capitalize on that, and come out on top. I think that's what he'd be doing, just biding his time and waiting.
See how much Arjun closed in on the brakes there?
Yeah, if you notice, Arjun,
he just jumped him on the brakes going into the S's there.
If you notice the helicopter in all the slower corners, the long corners, you can see how Arjun's on the brakes, and he makes a lot of time there. But is he losing on the egg? Is Sohail using the top in the AMG to get out of the corners better?
So I think just to go away from that question real quick, we do see Advait, who has actually gone in for his drive-through. If I'm not wrong, we do see him dropping down the grid. Hopefully that was a drive-through and not someone has spun him out. But has something happened to Chewang Lama, because now he's in the pits as well as Saurav. We see 3 people in the pits right now. Do you guys have an idea of what exactly is happening? Is it possible damage?
Not sure if they had contact at the back, but now going back to the leaders again, Sohail seems to have put a little gap, but Arjun seems to have made a mistake. Bust up.
Is Hari going to make?
No, it's Abhishek. He's giving Arjun a bit of run, but Arjun's watching him in the mirror, so I think Arjun left a little bit of space just to make sure there's no contact. But Abhishek seems to be really good at this circuit.
Yeah, he has come live on the race. I mean, he's very conservative qualifying, but the race has just brought him alive, and he's just. I think whatever time that was lagging in qualifying, he's just observed with the guys in front and made it up. And now he's taking it to the leaders.
Great rear view. Yeah, and we just got a great rear view of Abhishek going through Oruj and Radion.
Yeah.
There's super view there, and you can see so smooth, so clean, and you know that the Audi even in real life is very well balanced. So that was a good catch through there.
But just diversing, we do see Chewang Lama with a 20-second stop go. If I read that correctly, we do see Chewang Lama having another penalty, or his first penalty. I'm not exactly sure what has gone wrong there, but he has a 20-second stop go. Or 30-second stop go. 30 second.
Not sure if it's,
I think that was Hari. You lost it at the back. I think we have a spinner.
He's still there though. He hasn't got. He just went a bit wide, but I think he kept it on.
That was a big moment, but that was a big moment. So it was a good save then, because I thought he wasn't going to make it out.
Yeah, it's an interesting story about Hari actually. So he was saying that he's got an internet connection that's just
Right.
not fast enough and it keeps giving him trouble. But even with all that, he says his practice time is reduced a bit, but with all that, he's still able to keep up with the leaders and show them what he's got. Going back with Amit Kuti now and Satish, Amit, who had lost out a bit, now starting to make his way up again, right behind Satish. I think it's going to be interesting to see because it just depends on who can keep their foot flat on the floor through Blanchimont.
Yeah,
After Satish has gone wide, I think Amit's definitely going to line him up for the chicane. And has he done it? Has he done it?
Is he going to be patient now? Maybe on the exit. Maybe on the exit, going to the first corner. Then yes, Satish is not wide again, so he hasn't got a good drive out. Is Amit going to line him up then going to Rouge? That would be the smart move to do the undercut.
We do see
he's
a
keeping,
lot of
he's
good
keeping
racing.
Satish off the racing line though. He's just always keeping his car where Satish needs to be. But and Satish just isn't able to get into the corners on the right line where he needs to be. But I think Satish just managed to get out of Lassos well enough to pull a gap. Down the Camel Straight, it's a long straight, but the Ferrari's got the power down the straight, and I think
We see
Amit should be able to reel him in.
sorry, I thought I saw Abhishek going down the grid, but no, he's actually still up. We do see the times being reset. We do see that Amit is in 6th place, so whether he's got a penalty or not, he still has to keep his cool, forget about the incident for now, and just try to work his way up the order.
Satish is in 5th and holding quite strong, really. I mean, Amit is piling up all the pressure, but even with the previous lap when Satish was defensive, he managed to get the right exit, and that's how he's managed to stay ahead and build out a little bit of a gap as well. But it'll be interesting to just go back to the top 3 now and see if they've closed the gap or not.
So as we only have 6 minutes more, or less than 7 minutes more going into race 1, we've seen some incredible action. We've had a restart, and we see just some extremely stupid moves. But
If just to cut you off there, then if you look at the top 3, I think they've closed the gap a bit, at least with with Arjun and Soil. If you look, just look at the difference in the manufacturers. They show the different strong points really, and the long sweepy stuff. We see the Murph eking away in the shorter, heavy braking corners. You see Arjun really piling it on. So it's a good. Between the two manufacturers. The Audi, as we know, is very strong in the brakes, very strong through the change of direction. So, 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. You have 2 racing drivers and 1 esports driver. It's a really great mix we have here. And let's see who's going to come on top. We've got just over 5 minutes there.
And just as you were saying that, Arman, going through the chicane, you could see that the Audi was actually really quick in changing direction, and he piled on a lot of pressure going on to Arjun again. But again, he's got the long straight to deal with. But has he? Did we just see a glimpse of Dwaraknath? Yes, he has. Abhishek is in front of Maini, and he seems to have pulled the gap as well. So we seem to have missed what happened at Lassos, but he's not just got him, but he seems to have put a gap on him as well.
Right. I don't know if Arjun's made a mistake or Abhishek just dived in, but it'll be interesting to look at the replay and see what actually happened. Nevertheless, it's a good move. He's running in 2nd. I think now he's just got to put his head down and focus on Soil, who's ahead.
And just to remind everybody who's watching, the championship up front is really close between Amit Kuti, Abhishek Bharatnath and Arjun Maini. Arjun Maini is leading the championship at the moment with Amit in 2nd and Abhishek in 3rd. So these 2 guys are actually fighting for the championship, and it's this race and the next race. So it's going to be really close. Sohail unfortunately had a few rough races early on, so he's a little further back, but I'm sure he would love to win a race. He's always been up there, but he's always been caught up in incidents, and it's just unfortunate. But now we're seeing some great racing, some really good, clean racing.
So
he's more of an eager beaver, isn't he? I mean, always really quick, but sometimes just wasn't patient enough. But I think coming to this round, he's really held it back. I think he was up at 6:30 in the morning today practicing, and I think paid off because he made the move at the right time and hasn't made a mistake since.
Exactly, and
Yeah, he's keeping it quite clean.
I do want to touch. There are a bunch of drivers actually in the pits right now. We actually see Karthik Tarani, who was up in top 10, but now into the pits. Has he sustained some damage? Sorry to put the focus off the leaders, but we do see some stuff happening at the back of the grid as well. We do see some damage being sustained, maybe, and we still see Advait Dioda having to serve his drive-through penalty. And the really unfortunate part about serving a drive-through penalty, especially on this track, is that you have the extended pits as well. So that means you have to be slow for a longer period of time. Rather, the average pit stop or an average drive-through would probably be around 20 to 30 seconds, but this might be even 30 to 40 seconds. So just that 10 seconds could really be a lot between you gaining a position or not.
Yeah.
They seem to have parked though. I'm not sure why. We'll have to check because there's just 3 minutes left in the race. So there is obviously no point in them continuing. There's Sandeep in the pit, Advait in the pit, Karthik in the pit. So I think they're just preparing themselves
What
for the next
happens?
race.
What happens is if they sustain heavy damage, then it takes some time for them to get fixed. So probably that's the process that's going on.
And does it not get reset when you start race 2?
Yeah, of course it does.
Okay.
It does, yeah. But so they're in the pit. But I guess they'd sustained a lot of damage and they decided to pit.
And we see Amit making
But we've got Amit now trying to make a move on Satish finally. Oh, that got really, really close. Both of them running wide. Satish
Both
going
right.
back.
I think Amit will have to give that place up. And
Yeah, it's Satish's place to keep. Satish was a bit smart by going a bit further ahead. And
we see Hari going wide.
Who's that? That's Hari who's gone wide. Hari's gone straight off there. I don't know if he made contact
I
with
think Gupta might have
Avinash Gupta there, but
is that Gupta? Yeah, that is Gupta. I think he might have made some touching with him. I did see that earlier before we went into the turn, but
Gupta's a lap behind though. So
Gupta,
it's a bit unfortunate if he made contact with someone who's a lap behind him.
Gupta has just come out of the pits, so let's hope he listens to the blue flags and just moves aside and lets the quick guys go past. Like you said, it'll be really unfortunate they get mixed up in that squabble.
But now we've got Amit now charging on the back of Hari. Hari suddenly found himself from being in a lonesome fourth place to being hounded from behind by one of the championship leaders actually. And we've got
Amit's got him. Amit's got him.
Yep, he's got him. That's a place for Amit, but I think Amit's going to receive a penalty post this race. I think he's getting a 10-second penalty for his incident with Rohan Shankar. We'll have to confirm that.
Yeah, that would be for the early incident, like you said, which was really unfortunate for both, and especially Rohan, who seems to be the one who's lost the most out of that.
I'm actually watching the YouTube feed. Sohail has a lot of fans. You've got a few people saying "Go Sohail, go Sohail."
Oh yeah.
Some fans as well. It's interesting to see. We've got somebody who says Sohail Shah is so consistent, great driver. So just for those of you who have tuned in just now, this grid is a mix of race drivers and gamers. And if you look at the leaderboard, you've got Sohail Shah, who's a race driver. You've got Abhishek Dwarkar, who's a gamer. You've got Arjun Maini, who I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. His race in Formula 2, the World Endurance Championship. And then you've got Satish, who's just a very enthusiastic gamer, and he's got his own super simulator in his office. So it's a great mix of drivers we've got here.
I mean, Satish is a tuner, a gamer, a sim engineer, so the multiple one of these to do with motorsport.
And we've got somebody who's a big fan of Karthik Tarani. He's just commented saying, "Come on, Tarani, for the win." Tarani is parked in the pits. He's probably listening to the commentary as well.
Actually, Tarani is out of the pits. He's actually racing. So
what just happened with Abhishek? Not Abhishek, was Hari, I think.
No, was that Abhishek?
That was Hari. Hari just kind of went to
No, he's gone off again. I think he his connection again. I think that may be a connection issue. We'll give Hari the benefit of the doubt.
For those of you who are new to watching games online, if a car crashes like that, I think it's probably electrical in terms of his engine and not with the car. So he did seem to have a technical failure there.
He's got a valid excuse this time.
But back to the leaders now. We've got Sohail in the lead again, still keeping that distance with Abhishek. Abhishek seems to have closed in a little bit after getting past Arjun. But again, very consistent. I think the Audi seems to be keeping its tires pretty well, but it's the last lap, so Hill's coming down to the end of the lap through Blanchimont and then to the bus stop. So it looks like this is just going to be the order to finish unless something goes
this is where the Merc is, and the Soul that just doesn't overshoot his braking. I think he's got this, and you can see he just backed off. He just wants this. Oof! That was a bit close.
I think he just doesn't want to make a mistake there, but it got a bit close. But that's the top three. Everybody got Abhishek and Maini. That's a super close race. You don't see that too often.
And clean. The top three were really clean. I have to say the top three were very clean. Made some good moves, and it was a pleasure to watch.
And we're watching Satish and Amit now come to the finish line. Satish, super job by Satish there.
Amit gives him a little tap there.
And Amit gave him a little tap. We've got Saurav, who managed to make up for his bad luck over the last few days to bring the car home in 6th place there, followed by Hari, who managed to actually come across the line, did he?
This was some exciting racing. We did see, as I said, we have seen some moves that weren't exactly legal and have ruined, like Rohan Shankar, that did cause Rohan Shankar to spin, which could have lost a couple of positions and possibly damage as well.
Yeah,
all right, before you guys go on, I just want to tell everybody, sorry guys, I just want to interrupt you here. I just want to tell everybody who's watching, don't leave. We've got one more race to go, so don't leave the stream. That was just race one of the two races. The second race is going to be the final. I think it's between Arjun, Maini and Abhishek Dwaraknath. Now the championship is really, really close at the top. So let's see how it goes, because the driver who gets the fastest lap also scores a point. So if it's one of them, it's an extra point.
So don't rule out Amit Kuti as well, since there's 25 points for the win, and as we've seen it, the first lap can get quite chaotic. It's the final race. Everyone's going to be on their toes. Let's just hope they keep their calm demeanor and we can have a clean, good, tight race again.
So before we start the race,
it's going to start soon.
Before we start race 2, I do want to actually ask you guys, before we go into the final race of the weekend, and we've had a bunch of exciting races in round 1, round 2, and now round 3. Going to the last race, what are the leaderboards and what are the standings right now? Who is on top and who are the top 3? Do you guys know?
It's still going to be Arjun, Amit, and Abhishek. It's going to be between them, but Arjun's on top. I would think Abhishek is second because Amit received a penalty after that race.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need to see how much the 10 seconds has dropped Amit. I know they were quite close. The guys behind were quite close. How much he's fallen back, and that's the advantage Abhishek would have gotten him for that, because Abhishek got the strong second place with 20 points.
And for those of you who are wondering what the grid is like, again, it's basically just based on qualifying. You've got Arjun on pole, you've got Sohail second, Amit third, Abhishek fourth, Hari fifth. It's going to make for some good close racing once again.
So as we only have 30 more seconds going into the final race of this action-packed weekend, it has been a pleasure to be here with you guys especially, and seeing these real racers that going against some of the gamers, and it's just been a really, really good concept and really good idea to put these guys up against each other to see who's actually on top. But we do see a lot of these sim races are really quick, but we do see a lot of real racers, gamers that are just as quick.
Yeah, just before we start, I got to say, guys, just follow us on UltimateE Official on Instagram, and we'll be back again next weekend. And through the week, we'll be updating with what our next plans are for the next weekend and how we're going to categorize our races for the coming week.
Exactly. And any last predictions you want to have right before we get on to the green lights? Who do you think is going to be on top of today's race?
I don't want to put the commentator curse in anyone, so I'm just gonna hold back.
It's going to be tough to say. I think all these guys know it's the last race. We know Krishanu Datta is really quick, but unfortunately the previous race he got bumped off on the first corner. But let's just hope he can keep it there this time, because he's going to be challenging definitely for the win. And it's a green flag, clean start there by everyone. The two Audis are side by side, but I think it's Abhishek who's got
you've got Arjun Sohail running wide, and then you've got again Arjun Koti in third place. Is that Abhishek Gordon on the fourth? I just can't see it above the trees.
I think that is Abhishek in fourth, and it's Hari in fifth. Soil's got a good slipstream there, going around the outside of Arjun once again, like he did last time. He's going to try the same thing. No, this time Arjun's a bit smarter. He's down the inside now for the next corner. They're still side by side now going into Brussels.
Three corners side by side. I think Arjun's got it.
And look at Abhishek trying to go around the outside.
And he's been spun around.
He's lost it. He's lost it.
He's lost it, and he's taken somebody with him. I'm not sure who he's taking.
I think that was Advait.
I'm not going to point any fingers, but I do think that he did get a little. I do think he got bumped by someone from behind. I'm not exactly sure who it was, but Abhishek, it did seem like he was getting bumped. We will have to review that after. But going in, we still have Sohail Shah in second, and Arjun, who positioned his car very smartly to make sure that Sohail didn't make the same move as he did in race 1, and we can see that they're taking the data from last race into race 2 now.
No, Arjun just learned from his mistakes. I think, like I just said earlier, they were side by side for 4 corners, which is great to watch. And even though the outside has no grip, but Arjun, they're just able to run a little wide, but just hold on to his position.
So that crash has actually put Abhishek all the way down into 13th. If he has sustained damage, this could be race over for him. If not, that means that he still has a fighting chance going into... we still have 13 minutes left in the session. That means he has a bunch of time to try to catch up, and maybe it's still a maybe, could possibly win the championship if Arjun makes a mistake.
We've just seen somebody go through the pit there. I'm not sure who.
I think we've seen actually a couple of drivers going into the pits. We see 2 drivers going into the pits. I think someone has actually retired, if I'm not wrong.
Maybe some damage from that incident there, but I think Advait is still on track.
Sumit Kadam and El Pradam.
You see Sohail Shah going again wide onto the same, going in the same turn. Irush, he did go wide the first lap and now the second.
I think he's got to be careful because you get only 3 warnings and then the game gives you a drive-through penalty. So if Sohail keeps doing it, he's going to get a penalty and then he's going to lose all these positions, and then it's going to be Putty versus Maini once again, like we saw yesterday.
No, I think that's the back marker just stepping out of the way, staying out of the way.
It's probably Likit if Likit Pradhan, if it's a Porsche. I think he's just getting out of the way. It's a good job there by Likit, staying out of everybody's way.
We see
but while we're speaking here, that's really close. Is that Hari? No, that's Hari versus.
That's Hari.
That's Hari versus Krishanu, and it's really close. It's again Audi versus Porsche.
Well, let's just hope they can keep it clean.
And yesterday in Monza we did see Dutta make a lightning start in race 1, but unfortunately did get caught up in with 2 cars in the same consecutive corner in consecutive laps, so that did have him get a drive-through penalty. But he was extremely strong this race. Could we see some of that again this race, as he's going just on the outside, side by side, wheel to wheel, and he might just touch Hari? No, Hari's gotten away with it, and Hari's still ahead.
But while we're focusing on these guys, don't forget the guys right behind us. Karthik and Rohan waiting. They're just waiting for something to go wrong with the guys in front of them. And actually, Hari just got a really bad exit there.
Karthik has just gotten a lightning.
No, I think it was, guys, I gotta say, I think Karthik gave him a little push, and that's what helped him get ahead of Hari.
That only works in a game. And now Hari's got some trouble because he's lost 1 place to Krishanu, and then he's
we see a spin by Hari. No, he's lost it. We've lost him.
Hari lifted. I'm just going to take another look at that. He's gone through Blanchimont, lost it, and then gone into Karthik, and then someone behind him got that. Unfortunate for Hari there.
So that means Rohan Shankar and Karthik Tarani move up a place.
That was so close to being disastrous. I mean, he could have taken 3 cars out, which would have been really sad in terms of Karthik and Rohan's case for the second time in a row, But at least now they're in the fight. I think it's going to be a good battle for the next 10 minutes.
But in all that, I think it's Saurav Bandyopadhyay who was right there in the mix, and then he went into the spinning car of Hari, and now he seems to have fallen back. Not sure if he's gone in the pit or sustained some damage, but he has fallen back. That's unfortunate for him. But now it's Rohan versus Karthik. It's going to be interesting to see. interesting view there we just saw of Rohan's car coming down.
You see
chasing
Rohan
Karthik.
Shankar getting the slipstream. Rohan Shankar has made he's been extremely consistent throughout. Maybe just a little bit slower than the race pace, but he's been extremely consistent, not making any mistakes. Unfortunately, getting caught up in a lot of stuff in all 3 rounds. But maybe this could be his redemption race, and he could overtake and get into top 5, which would probably be very satisfying for him. And he's actually, as I say that, he has spun out.
He lost it.
Spun out,
Who's
and
that behind him? Was that Advait? That's Advait.
Yeah, that's
who
Advait.
Also, but he just about got away with that.
as I've said that, I think we have some commentary. We have some
Dylan,
voodoo
you had
commentary going on over here.
You had to put your foot in your mouth.
That was a good battle while it lasted. But now we're back to the leaders. We've got Maini in the lead. We've got Sohail in second. Still maintaining that close gap between the two of them, and Amit, who's in third, who's not making any mistakes. We saw Amit, if we just discussed yesterday's race for a minute, Amit in race 2, Amit won the race and he didn't put a foot wrong. He just, every corner, no mistakes. And Monza is tough. Monza is tough for you to get your braking right, to not make any mistakes. And Amit was perfect. Arjun was right behind him the whole time, but there was nothing Arjun could do.
Yeah, might I say Arjun was
Sohail
taking him
Shah
through the whole
extremely
race.
overshot that.
So he did overcook that quite a bit.
Yes, but I think it's pretty safe. Amit's going to close up on him and look.
Amit's going to exactly. I think we're going to see some good racing between Sohail.
Yeah, if we could just focus on the second and third positions going down, if we can, once we go down to Eau Rouge, I think Amit's going to get a good run on him there.
Yeah, I mean, if Sohail's got a good run out of La Sauce and through Eau Rouge and Radion, I think he could be safe, but let's see. He does have a decent gap to Amit, so I think he should be safe this time around.
Yeah.
But any more mistakes and he's definitely going to be in trouble. Good clean line there. This time he didn't go off. He must have got the warning on his screen telling him he's exceeded the track limit a bit too many times, so...
So,
But anyway,
talking about the top 5, sorry to interrupt you there, Aditya, but talking about the top 5, we actually have Karthik Tarani in the top 5 now. This has been a good start for him, especially now that we're getting into the second half of the race. He's in a good position. He is losing a lot of time to Dutta, but Dutta is 5 seconds behind Amit, so if Amit makes any mistakes, he could be in trouble with Dutta. So they need to be extremely clean, especially for the battle for P2. They need to be extremely clean, otherwise Dutta is going to come out of nowhere and just snatch either 1 or 2 positions.
Yeah, and you have to remember this is Sohail's chance to actually jump into the top 3 of the championship. So for him, he needs to win this race, and winning this race will give him the opportunity to either be second or third. So Sohail's obviously going to try his best. He's made 1 mistake. I'm sure he doesn't want to make another mistake, and he knows Amit is a championship contender, and he needs to finish ahead of Amit to be able to capitalize on those points.
But I think, it's safe to say that it might be close. It might be close between Sohail and Amit after Amit's penalties from race 1. But if not, I'm pretty sure that if Amit stays even third, he should be pretty safe.
Losing you with the bit there, Arman, but all is good. We do see Amit just inching a little bit closer and closer to Sohail Shah here, and that means Arjun Maini has had the opportunity to go ahead. That means Arjun Maini is almost 2 seconds ahead of Sohail Shah. That is the gap between P1 and P2, and maybe Amit can get up on his pace and try to gain on him.
Looking at Amit's last lap, sorry to interrupt, they were looking at Amit's his last lap was his best lap, and I think that's a little more than a 10th quicker than what Sohail has done. So right now, since he's got that figure in front of him, he's just chasing, again, he's gone even quicker. He's just setting fastest lap after fastest laps, which are all within 10, so he's being really consistent as well, which is great, because I think slowly they're going to close the gap to Arjun, so we've got a little more than two laps to go, and I mean, if they continue this way, it might be a very close finish.
Yeah, indeed. And once again, for those of you who've just tuned in later on, we were discussing earlier. So Arman and I are not the most we're not the most technologically advanced people here. So for us to be able to do this commentary, it took us a few days to figure out. Dylan's been helping us. Dylan's been great. And so now what we're actually doing is we're on a video call with Dylan. Dylan is pointing his phone at his screen because he's streaming it off his screen because YouTube's a bit delayed. So you guys are actually 5 seconds behind us. And we're watching this screen and doing the commentary of it. We're maintaining social distance. So we rest assured the three of us are not sitting next to each other. And I hope it's the same with all of you.
We're
Keep
all
some
virtually
distance.
sitting next to each other.
We're all virtually sitting
They're
next to each other.
virtually sitting next to each other, right?
in soul and mind, we're sitting next to each other and watching this race at the edge of our seat.
Absolutely. Now let's get back to the race, and we've got these guys are so evenly matched. There's no difference between the three of them. I think Arjun's been able to still pull off a little bit more. He's kind of come into his own there again. But between Sohail and Amit, there's really not much between the two of them. They're just so close, so evenly matched.
There's absolutely nothing else. I mean, if you look at the lap times, I'm just watching the lap times, even closer in the lap times that will be lap, and they're both lapping within a tenth of each other. So, that's why even the gap just looks the same, Certain parts of the section, each one is stronger, but apart from that, it's just they're within a tenth of each other on terms of lap time.
Yeah, and Krishanu, who's been really great the last couple of days, is just not able to get closer to them. He's falling further back with every lap.
And I was just about to mention that, especially Karthikeyan just being one place behind, he is losing a lot of time to Dutta, but he is matching Vioda's pace, so he is pretty much locked in 5th place if he doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, it seems like most of them are quite set actually to where they are. There's 3 minutes left in the race, which means this is the penultimate lap. There'll be one more after. So it's all up to Arjun to keep it clean, and Sohail again not to make any mistakes. We saw him make a few mistakes. We saw him cut the track, run wide, and he's just lucky not to get the track limit penalty from the game, because we saw yesterday especially a lot of guys were receiving this penalty.
We just received word that it was Hari's internet connection failure. So unfortunate that he had those problems. He was running quite. Hopefully he can get sorted for our next season. I just want to touch up on Dutta Bayan, because Monza really strong and he should have had a strong result there. Unfortunately, getting involved in one too many incidents, and I think now that he's lost that rhythm, I think he's just struggling to match up with the top three again, because once you lose that rhythm, it's very difficult to get back on pace, But in Monza, I really felt like he should have got a result because of his pace was that strong.
As I said, I mentioned that as well, that he was extremely extraordinary from the start. In race 1 he had taken the lead, and he did unfortunately get caught up, and we see someone spun out. Saurav has spun out.
We're just seeing a spin here. Is that Saurav?
Yes, it is. No, that's Sandeep. Sorry, Sandeep.
No, Sandeep.
Sandeep is
I think he was having a good battle there. It's unfortunate.
He was running well in the top 10. I think looking at his strongest result, and then he's just gone and lost it there.
And he's had some really bad luck, and it's just unfortunate because Sandeep was really looking forward to being a part of the series and being up in front. But now back with the leaders, it's still Maini well in the lead. Sohail's managed to pull a gap now to Amit. So I think Sohail's also quite safe in second place, unless again technical glitches are something that we've seen, and that's equivalent to your issues that you even have in real life, as we can see with Hari here.
Talking about lap time, Sohail's up to pace a little bit. That's why you see the gap open up, because he's come down to a high 18. He's come down to 18.31. 8.31. So they're still pushing, even though they're coming towards the last lap. They're still pushing, and they're trying to get big. Each one of them trying to get that one extra point for the fastest lap. So don't forget about that as well. Every point counts.
Yeah, and it's the last race, and after this we'll have to check what the final points are, and we'll be announcing it. But for all of those who are tuned in, remember this is going to be an every weekend thing. So next weekend it's going to be something different. We'll surprise you during the week and we'll announce it. But make sure you tune in every weekend, spread the word, let everybody know, because you're actually watching a live sport. All these drivers are actually sitting in their homes, in their bedrooms, and they're playing a game for you, and it's great to watch. But while we're talking about that, we've got Rohan versus Advait. This is going to be interesting to see, because Rohan's got a really, really good run getting onto the Camel Straight there.
Advait's been a bit naughty this race. You can look at the damage on his front end, on the front end of his car.
We seem to they're going wheel to wheel, going into turn.
Let's hope the hood stays down.
Oh,
Is Rohan going down the outside? Is he going to make it? No. Advait just managed to break late enough, but Rohan's definitely not.
Getting to the undercut.
No, it didn't work for him there, but it's the last lap now, so Rohan doesn't have much time. He's just got a few corners to do it.
It's a now or never moment for Rohan Shankar to make a move. He is in a good position right now, but it could be better.
I think
We'll just have
the
one
next
position.
the next few corners are his strongest bit because the Lamborghini will be strong in these long flowing corners, and especially the chicane coming up, the third gear chicane coming up. So now is his best time to really attack and not make a mistake, you know, and try and
Oh
force
no,
Advait.
he spun!
Oh, he's knocked
He spun!
him.
And he spun.
What just happened?
I was just about to say that I have really bad luck, and I'm not going to mention anything about Shankar. And he's just gone again and spun
I don't
out.
understand how that happened. I mean, he knocked Advait and then lost it, and then lost the car itself.
I think he tried to correct his car spinning out, and he just overcorrected it, and that caused him to turn the other way.
Now back to Arjun Maini, and I'm pretty sure he's the winner of the championship. Everybody, big round of applause for Arjun Maini, the winner of the first edition of the UltimateE.
Arjun Maini
So
has
his
been
car
extremely
crossing the
strong
line
this whole we could just say season. All 3 rounds he's been extremely strong. Unfortunately, in round 1, race 1, he did get caught up, putting him all the way in the back of the grid. But other than that, he's been extremely strong in free practice, qualifying, race 1 and race 2.
Yeah, it's a really strong result by Arjun, really strong drive by, so he'll make it a good comeback. Amit, I think should be, if I'm not wrong, should be second in the championship, but we'll come back to you on that. Karthik got his best result, I think, in the top 5.
Yes, he is in
That's
top.
right, that's his best result, top 5. And then we've got Dwaraknath and the other. I think Abhishek managed to make some places there right at the end after being after falling back early on in the race. We'll have to go through that incident and see what actually happened. But there we go. We've got now the last few cars.
We got Rohan finally crossing the line after what could have been in this race, but unfortunately, a few unfortunate incidents, you know. But that's more.
Yeah, you've got to feel bad for Rohan that's racing. We've got Sandeep also who had a tough race there, crossing the line, and then followed by Likit.
We actually see Gupta.
Avinash
Gupta was extremely strong through round 1 and round 2. Unfortunately, it seems like he might have been caught up, putting him in 14th place this race.
Yeah, super dedicated driver, but I guess it's just a few things went wrong every now and then. But let's run a recap through the championship. I think it was a great first series here for us. We definitely saw some good close battles between the real race drivers and the gamers, and it's great to see that even when you mix them up, they're just so close to each other. There's no differentiation between them.
Oh, 100%. I've been at the edge of my seat the last 3 days, you know, 3 at home, jumping up and down. It's been superb, you know. I think we've seen some great racing. I think we know we need to get the drivers need to get a little more discipline in terms of, you know, how they knock each other, I mean, on the aggression. But all in all, it was a super fun 3 days. I hope all you viewers had a great time. I hope the drivers, I'm sure I know the drivers. And yeah, I can't wait to, you know, come back and see what we have to offer next.
And you know,
yeah, and for those of you who are asking, sorry Dylan, I just saw a question on YouTube, but for those of you who are asking if it's just going to be ACC, which is Asseto Corsa Competizione, it's we're going to surprise you a bit. We'll mix things up, make it entertaining. So that's to answer your question. But Dylan, go ahead. What were you saying?
yeah, and I did want to touch on something in the middle of the race, but I thought I would save it for the end, not to interrupt anyone. But you know, we see a huge performance gap between the top drivers and the bottom, but I really did expect coming into the weekend, I did expect some of the gamers to have a little bit of an edge over the real racers, but the real racers have just proved that wrong, that, you know, we can come on and we can show you what we've got as well, because, you know, the gamers come us gamers, this is what we do. We race, we find those knickknacks that make us just a little bit faster, and we use that towards the race. And, you know, I was expecting to see that and seeing gamers on top, seeing a really big divide, but no, it's been incredibly even throughout the whole grid, and it's really good to see. And coming into the next couple of weekends, this is going to be very exciting for us in the future, because now we know the performance gap between the real racers and the gamers.
Yep, and I think it's time to sign off. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks for everything. I think you've been more than just a commentator to us on this series, and it's been great. So for all of you who are watching, be sure to follow us every weekend. We'll keep you updated on Instagram. It's UltimateE official.
Yeah, it's here signing off. It's been a great 3 days, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys soon. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Aditya, and we're signing out for UltimateE official.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I will see you guys later.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yep.
And as right before I end my commentating, I want to personally thank all you guys and all you viewers for stopping by and watching the races. It's been an electrifying weekend watching the races, but it's just been so much better with you guys here. And I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay indoors and stay safe, especially with this highly infectious disease going around. And we'll make sure to bring some more action throughout the next coming weekends. Till then, I will see you guys.